Joining me today on Blackbird TV, this is Larry Harb from IT Risk Managers in Okemos, Michigan. Hi, Larry.
Hi, David. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'd like to ask you, when you and I met, it was 10 years ago. I was starting Blackbird Asset Services. We're an auction company. And one of the things on the checklist is, get insurance when you open your company. So it's not a big deal. So I called some local brokers. I called some people, my insurance guy, and nobody would touch me. I mean, I couldn't insure this business for the life of me. And then I found Larry. Larry, talk to me about why is it so hard for auction companies and auctioneers to get insurance?
Well, Dave, you'd be amazed at how many auctioneers actually ask me that question and don't understand it. But it's actually very simple. From the insurance company's perspective, auctioneers are considered a high-risk class. Now, everybody says, why? Why is that? Well, just think about it logically. If we were talking about, let's say, insuring a fast food restaurant and, let's just pick on the Arches, the Golden Arch guys, okay? It doesn't matter whether I'm in upstate New York, whether you're in Okemos, Michigan, or whether you're in Orlando, Florida, or Santa Barbara, California, every McDonald's is going to look the same. They build them to look the same. Their playbook looks the same. The equipment is all the same. So when you onboard an employee and do new hires, it's all the same. The playbook is identical.
It's super easy to quantify that risk for the insurance company.
Oh, totally. And
right.
that's the issue. When you think about an auction business, even with the franchises, there's nothing similar except they all use the auction method of marketing to establish the price. And that becomes the issue. Okay. There's nothing similar. So in the morning, you could be doing box lots. In the afternoon, you could be selling equipment or a piece of real estate. In the evening, you could be doing a boat or an airplane. And I've got auctioneers that do just exactly that. And that becomes the issue. The insurance company never knows what their exposure is. And that's why it's so difficult to insure auctioneers.
And that's why you're out there, because you've got some really, really good places to place companies. And I know we were a challenge because we specialize in commercial and industrial, and we're in New York.
And you're in New York. Yes, sir.
So we could make a whole segment about that too. But you were really there at the right time, and you've taught me so much about the insurance industry, and you've taught me so much about risk and cyber risks. And we could go on for hours about this, and I don't want to make it that long. I wanted to kind of segue into where we are right now. This is being recorded in December of 2020, and we're in the second wave of the COVID pandemic. And I'd like your opinion on how does this pandemic impact the insurance industry, and what do you see happening?
Wow. I mean, that's where you got to start. You got to start with a wow. When you look at 2020, and what 2020 has done for the insurance industry, the biggest problem we've had is everything is a catastrophic event. We're talking about a pandemic, which is a catastrophic event. It's the worst event anybody's ever seen. All you got to do is turn on the news media and you hear it 24/7.
Yeah, they tell you all about it.
Right. Let's look at the other events that have impacted 2020, and the impact on the insurance industry is it's all on the insurance industry's bottom line. Now, COVID has been a big problem for the insurance industry. Now, while the insurance industry is not paying business interruption losses for the most part, they're paying huge workers' comp claims. We're seeing a number of workers' comp claims come in because of COVID, and that has just raised rates. And that's what we're seeing happening in the insurance industry. You're seeing rates going up because of the events that have taken place, whether it's COVID, whether it's the wildfires out in California or Colorado, but out west, you've got all the wildfires going on. And then you add to that the hurricane season that we've just come through. I mean, we've had more named hurricanes this season than any other season on record.
They ran out of two alphabets. They ran out of two alphabets, right? So
when you think of all of those events, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the hurricanes, whether it's the wildfires, all of this has created nothing but losses for the insurance industry. And consequently, I've been in the insurance industry for over 30 years, and this is one of the first times in 30 years where I could say the market is really starting to harden up considerably. And what do I mean by that? It's getting harder to find coverage for accounts. It's getting more expensive for accounts, and you're seeing less coverage being offered. Insurance companies use this kind of opportunity to raise rates and start making some profits back because their bottom lines are really suffering.
Wow, nothing but good news on this interview.
Nothing but good news from that. Sorry.
Really?
Sorry.
So other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play at Ford Theater?
Right. Yeah.
Have you seen the Major League Baseball suit against their insurance carriers for loss of revenue from COVID? Are you familiar with that action?
Truthfully, David, I really haven't followed it, but in reading all of the different insurance magazines, so far, the insurance companies are winning the business interruption suits that are being filed against them because of COVID.
Wow. So the state shuts down the restaurant. I can't hold auction sales. And that is very clearly an interruption in business, but our insurance carriers aren't going to compensate us for that.
They're not. And you've got to ask yourself why. Because from your perspective, you've lost income.
Absolutely.
So from your standpoint, it's definitely a claim. But from the insurance company's perspective, you have to ask yourself what triggered the claim. In the general liability policy, which is where business interruption is usually found, that coverage is triggered by bodily injury and or property damage.
And we don't have either one of those with a virus, do we?
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
You don't. It hasn't happened. The trigger hasn't happened. Therefore, the insurance companies have denied that claim.
I believe that in the Major League Baseball suit, they're claiming that there's property damage to their stadiums and they couldn't put fans in the seats. And I think that's the basis for their suit. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and we'll pay attention to it. If anybody has any questions about any insurance issues, I'll tell you what, this guy on the screen is probably the best guy in the industry to answer your questions. And we're going to put his name up in just a minute on the panel at the end. And Larry, I can't thank you enough for spending your time with me today. Have a great day, and thanks for being part of Blackbird TV.
Thanks, David. It's a pleasure to be here.